This is the last week of the regular season. We still don't even know who's going to be in the playoffs.
Piglet in the back lines, gets the kill and a match and ace for the team. Team Liquid looking to make a run for playoffs.
There are a ton of playoff implications for that #2 seed in this week of the NA LCS.
Counterlogic Gaming, Team Impulse, Cloud9, all want a first round bye in the playoffs. Only one of them's gonna get it. The 3-man ulti and Show gonna find a lot.
The Ignite is completely killing the ultimate. He gets hit by Sneak and he turned around once again.
Double it hits him from downtown. 2 kills that fight.
This is the last week of the regular season, and it's definitely the most important.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the North American League Championship Series. We're coming to you live from our studios here on the West Coast, and the crowds are fired up. You saw we have a birthday out there, and Cloud9 arriving. They're heading into the studio. They'll be facing off against Gravity in our first match of the day. Bunny, Fufu, and Cop getting in a little solo queue practice before they hit the stage. Hello, everyone. I am James Dash Patterson. Great to have you with us as the teams have just 2 more games to carve out their place in the league hierarchy. Now, to kick off our day, we have Aiden Zyrene Moon, Joshua Jet-Leesman, and David Freak Turley joining me on the analyst desk. How you guys doing today? Last week of the NALCS.
Doing great. Got my pen. We're ready for this.
Last week of the NLCS regular season.
I
think it's just starting to get interesting. This almost feels like the first week of the playoffs because there's so many teams that kind of need to win out in order to make it.
A lot of jockeying for position now. The playoff race is heating up as teams sprint towards the finish line. So let's pull up the standings to see how the league is arranged. In first place is TSM with CLG 1 game back in second. These 2 teams have secured a playoff berth and are now battling for seeding. Then fighting for the remaining 4 playoff spots are Cloud9 and Team Impulse tied for 3rd. Gravity and Team 8 tied for 5th, and Team Liquid in 7th. Now, guys, the standings do highlight just how much is still yet to be decided. So who are we going to be watching this week?
I'm going to be watching Team Impulse. They're on a 5-game winning streak at the moment, and Rush has just continued to improve on a consistent basis. He didn't know lane swaps when he first came here. With the introduction of him and Fly coming over from Korea, they've been nothing but phenomenal from start to finish. They're 6-1 in their last 7 games in the second half of the season, and a lot of that is also impacting the top lane, being so versatile. He plays what the team needs, and he just comes in and fills whatever role that he has to. And another thing about this team that I want to point out is they play CLG in tomorrow, actually. And they're 1 game back. So they control their own fate and could possibly get second still.
And it's going to be so interesting, too, because Impulse, they're on a roll, but they haven't actually had super difficult competition. There's a chance to roll into that CLG team having their last 3 games against the last 3 teams in the North American LCS standings. They've been playing easier opposition, which may be overinflating how good they look, but at the same time, until they lose, then it's hard to judge them.
Yeah, well, a team I really want to look at actually overall is Team Liquid, though. Like, these guys came in with so much hype. They were 1 game away from qualifying for Worlds last split. They started 2-0 against LMQ, if I remember properly. They grabbed Piglet, former world champion. Like, all right, Team Liquid, this is the time. They're going to break the curse. They're going to be better than 4th. They're going to be amazing. And they broke the curse the other direction. And it's heartbreaking to watch them because at first when Piglet showed up, it was like all this internal strife. The team was playing really poorly. Piglet was playing poorly. A bunch of dumb stuff happened. Second half of the split starts looking a whole lot better. And like, oh yeah, Piglet's working well. He's vocal with the team. We feel good. And when we see the games, Piglet himself is actually doing pretty well, but the rest of the team is falling apart now. Quas used to be ridiculous in the top lane. He was probably top 3 in North America. Now he's having a really miserable time. Phoenix, his team says he is the best player in North America in scrims. But we get to the match date, and it's like, well, Phoenix is, I mean, he's a mid laner, I guess. Like, nothing really works here for Team Liquid. And I want to see them actually make that surge. In the last 2 weeks, their only win has been Coast.
Yeah, I mean, I think so many of Team Liquid's problems go down to actually finding something that they can focus on. We built up Quas so much. He played, 8 or 9 different champions in consecutive games. But what ended up happening is they didn't have any focused strategy that they'd be able to actually rely on in the long term. And I think now, at least in their games last week, they're kind of just zeroing back in on somewhat protective compositions, maybe trying to make your AD carry a little bit bigger. It did work with Keith in the strange sense when he wasn't actually, they were protecting him, but he wasn't the focus of the comp, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's the weird thing is I wonder if it is just a mindset thing. Like it's an intangible when Keith is in the game. The team happens to play better. Like they beat TSM and CLG in back-to-back weeks with Keith. They lost to Team 8 in week 7 with Piglet, right? Like, these are wins that like they shouldn't be getting, then losses they shouldn't be getting, and it's, well, when the roster's changed up, right? Like, I don't know what it is that makes it work. And like seeing Piglet play, I can tell Piglet's a better player than Keith McBrief as an individual player, but yet the rest of Liquid doesn't seem to react to that very well.
All right, well, we have Impulse, Liquid, Jat. Who are you looking at?
Yeah, I'm looking at Team 8, honestly, for a couple reasons. Intangibles are one of the things. It's a team that doesn't look like they have superstar players. Slushy and Porpoise have stepped up huge in the last few weeks, and that's enabled Calitrolls to kind of be that top lane carry we've been hoping to see. He actually has 20 more kills than the next closest top laner in the North American LCS, and it's because he's finally went back to damage-oriented top laners. Vladimir in their victory last week. AP Gragas he's ran a couple of times. Early in the season, he picked up a win on Jax. Those are the types of champions that he's been getting success on. And Team 8 is extraordinarily interesting to me this week because the two teams they play are two teams they haven't beaten before, and they're the most important games. So it's kind of the Team Impulse thing there where they've been beating up or beating people that they've beaten before, and now they have to kind of go into new territory.
Yeah, and another thing about that top lane that Calitrolls is like kind of, he's been doing this for a very long time, playing those carry top laners, and then there was a really weird period where
why did it take so long?
They weren't letting him play it, right? They were like, we need a tank, and now I think that most of the tanks are going to come from Porpoise Pops, and he can be freed up on this meta. He actually had the most kills in Challenger out of every role, including like 80 carries and mid laners. He was a phenomenal player, and they were kind of just holding him down, and it was really confusing, and it's brilliant to see that, and it's no wonder that they're also 6-1 in the last half season.
This could be a really good patch for Team 8.
Well, we are seeing him with that freedom now, so maybe that will be the difference when they go up against CLG and Gravity this week. Let's take a look at the schedule. Up first on the Rift today is Gravity versus Cloud9. After that, Team 8 will square off against Counterlogic Gaming, and we'll conclude our day with Impulse taking on Team Dignitas. Now, we want to encourage all of you to share your thoughts on our Twitter question of the day. We're asking, who is your NA LCS Spring Split MVP and why? Hit us up at LOL Esports and use the hashtag LCS, and you might just hear your answer read later in the show. Now we're going to send it over to the guys at the caster desk to